Here we are at last at the end of all things. The top 10 of the top 50 hottest Pokemon anime women ranked series, and let me tell you, things are about to get hot. Hey everyone, it's Charles. How are you today? Thank you for stopping by, and welcome to the top 10 hottest Pokemon anime women ranked extravaganza, which is actually the third and final part of our top 50 hottest Pokemon anime women ranked series, in which we have ranked the most stunning gals of the Pokemon anime world based on appearance, aura, and the Charu X Factor. So take a moment to let me know who your vote goes to for the number 1 spot. Don't forget to check out part 1 and part 2, and before we kick off the top 10 and things get burning hot, let's give ourselves a cold splash of water to the face with a short disclaimer. 2 points. Firstly, note that this list is focused on anime women, so I have only included characters who have at least appeared in some capacity in the main series anime, Twilight Wings, or Generations. Secondly, in spite of the lack of any quote-unquote official imaginary ages for any of these imaginary characters, I focused on the gals who I interpret as mature characters, in order to stem the need for diaper changes and general loss of life in the comments section. But regardless, I'm sure there will be some degree of screeching about how Lana's mom is actually a minor, or the imaginary abstraction of a woman known as Cheryl is actually a 10-year-old boy who hasn't aged a day in 24 years because someone's uncle who works at Nintendo said so on Twitter, and thus everyone who does not agree with your personal interpretation of these very ambiguous characters must be a criminal, and other bad words, and nobody cares. Well, with that said, pour yourself a bucket of ice water to dump all over yourself once you start getting hot under the collar. Kindly request your hottest Pokemon anime machoke to cross-drop that like button for the YouTube algorithm to help Yusha buy his favorite sandwich for lunch tomorrow. And let's jump right in. Sometimes we let our primal instincts get the better of us. Sometimes we really let them get the better of us. And sometimes we choose Shelly Cell's Simp Shells by the Simp Shore as our number 10 gal on the hottest Pokemon anime women list, simply because our monkey brains saw some abs and made us do it. Admittedly, I approached this pick with all of the clarity of thought of a 12-year-old boy who just figured out how to disable the parental controls on his dad's iPad, but I do think that this decision is justified on account of everything that this single screenshot has done for the world. Those sweet hair follicles that spawned not just a great hairdo, but all Surfetched shields in the world. The slick color scheme of vibrant and rich blues with the dark hair and skin tones. The weird pants. And, as we mentioned, jaw-dropping midriff that is so cultured it is difficult to imagine that it actually came out of a Pokemon anime episode. Thank you, Pokemon Generations. Shelly was basically Nessa before Nessa, but with a more mature, lithe appearance and abs you could crack your own head on for being such a simp. Not to mention that her friend was also very hot. Long live the Riff. With a personality as cold as ice but looks as hot as fire, Prima was one of the 2 Orange Island bombshells, whose low-resolution JPEGs were printed off at the school library or spoinked onto floppy disks by countless young millennials of culture to be taken home as bedtime reading material back in the day before everyone had an internet connection at their homes. And while Professor Ivy and Prima are both absolute sizzlers from an aesthetic standpoint, I ranked Prima slightly higher because she is not only a hot dish in terms of her aesthetics, but moreover a badass in battle and as cool as a cloister. As for those printouts and floppy disks, I've buried them at the end of the Grand Line for anyone brave enough to make the voyage of a lifetime. Could we even make a hottest Pokemon anime women list without the most blistering hot fire trainer of all time breaking into the top 10? I think not, as Flannery is an absolute sizzler. Hotter than a flamethrower in summer, hotter than a Macargo's armpits, and hotter than the pages of the 2021 Pokehunk calendar. Maybe. It is evident that Flannery was designed with just one purpose in mind, to incite unbridled simping among the free peoples of Middle-earth. But you will not mind going there and back again for that Executor-esque crimson cut, crop top, riff radiance, and chill wide-bottom jeans and belt sash fashion that strike a chill contrast with the hot of everything from the waist up. Just one glance at Flannery will get you sweating like you just ate a hot treat in the heat of summer, and beyond the obvious A+ aesthetics, there's a certain charm in the nervous clumsiness with which Flannery goes about her gym duties that will really draw you into her character. Just don't underestimate her abilities or you will end up getting roasted. Nothing about Viola pops out like the wild, spiky hair of Flannery or the retina-blasting spandex of about half of the ladies on this list, but I've always found her to be one of the more attractive women in the Pokemon universe. And I think it all comes down to the simplicity of her design. A curvy but slim athletic build accentuated by a relatively unadorned white tank top and cropped pants, a chin-length back-pinned bob cut as gorgeous as a Goodger's ears, midriff, and boot game that could knock out an Onyx, or perhaps even a Fletchling. And of course, the utility elements that make a lot more sense than 30-pound butterfly wings or Menheta horns, from the sweatband for those muggy Kalos summers, to the multitude of pockets for storing lenses and Snicker bars, to the DSLR camera that is usually hung around her neck. Every feature only adds to her natural, pragmatic look. Viola's design is simple, and that is the beauty of it. Not to mention that her smile alone could melt a block of obsidian into a bowl of warm goop and turn the simps of Santaloon Santaloony. Not including B in the top 10 would be an act of sacrilege, as it has been statistically and morally validated that B is one of the hottest Pokemon women ever created in the eyes of fans. Without B on the list, there would be riots in the streets, and there would be angry simping over feats, and I simply couldn't let that happen. So yes, B is obviously hot, but why? Let's break down the sources of attraction into 5 individual elements. Firstly, the icy stoicism. B is squarely fixated on her own growth as a badass and is colder than a Cubchoo to everyone who is not named Machop. Her somewhat aloof attitude and focus on achievement are appealing on their own, but this steely shell also makes her softer moments in Twilight Wings and at Chuck's house all the more sweet and cute. Secondly, she is a youthful woman with dark skin paired with silver hair and blue eyes. A 3-color combo that is attractive because it subverts our real-world color combination expectations in the same way that Ness's design does. The rarity of such an exotic combination is a blast of excitement to the senses. Thirdly, the outfit that fits. I mean, I don't think I need to add anything about this that isn't pretty obvious, but I will say that although this cultured attire doesn't show much skin, it does a good job of highlighting her strong points, and also bangs out a pseudo Zettai Ryoiki effect that puts eyes on thighs. Fourthly, the physicality. Fit, healthy, tough people are hot, especially when they have a jacked set of abs like B. Fifthly, feet. I can't describe this one in detail without the YouTube secret police coming for me, but I will say that apparently this is a point of great interest to many well-adjusted and not so well-adjusted people around the world. And it has been suggested that one reason for this is how the region of the brain that handles sensory information from the feet is located in close proximity to the region that handles the inputs for certain other organs. Anyways, I'm curious what you think, but I would say that it is these 5 factors, and maybe a few others, that come together to make B's character design as gripping as a Graplocked and hotter than a Hawlucha. The so-called MILF who abuses her children from Pokemon Sun and Moon that every average perverted Pokemon claims they are willing to regardless of how terrible and bat crazy she is. In a list such as this, with the yummy mummy factor dialed up way past 9,000, you didn't possibly think that the career-driven and somewhat crazy hot mom lusamine wouldn't make the cut. Did you? But what exactly is it that makes lusamine more enchanting than a beam of moonlight dancing on the surface of a Machoke's glistening chest? To answer that question, I looked to the cultured people of the internet for help. Creepy hot, but hot all the same. The best kind? Lusamine is an MILF. Lusamine is the best MILF in Pokemon. Her body is kind of creepy, like a giant praying mantis. Lusamine or Wick Lusamine because she's the MILF. I think her youthful look might have been a parallel to the type of jellyfish that regenerate themselves and basically postpone death. She's attractive. I don't care for her hairstyle. It seems to have more angles than an acute triangle. Well, I don't agree with your opinion on that voluminous hairstyle that can conveniently fold into a tent, but she certainly is a cute triangle. Well, there you have it. Milfy and creepy. Apparently, this is a real simp shooter of a combo. I mean, we all know milfiness is milfiness, but as we mentioned back in part 2, something about insanity seems to ignite a fire in the loins of anime fans, and only adds to Lusamine's appeal. The lusamine of the anime isn't as crazy as her manga and game counterparts, but she is still crazy hot. And that is why we are here. Not to mention that she is looking pretty fit at the beach for a woman who's birthed 2 kids and an order of XL McDonald's french fries, and even her bedhead is so perfect that you'll be wishing you could say she's lusamine. At the turn of the century, I was still filling out my Pokédex when a very special gal came along and introduced me to a brand new type of dex. The dex that was badass, blue, and filled out like 2 big ol' stacks of paperwork. The first time I laid eyes on Clair was the first time I asked a friend if they had ever to a Pokemon character, and this day she still holds up as one of the hottest characters in the entire series. And it's not simply because she is an obvious 10 out of 10 according to Geralt, but also because she is one of those luminous ladies who layers an aura of confidence, charisma, and raw power on top of her fit and fine aesthetics to form a character who is truly stunning. I can only think of one other character in the Pokemon anime who drips that kind of icy coolness wherever she walks, and I wouldn't expect anything less from the cousin of Dragon Master Lance. So slip on your simp shades before staring at the radiance that is Clair, sears your retinas with baby blue and moonlight white, and let's get going to the next entry. With the caring, pink-haired beauty of a Nurse Joy tending to every Pokemon Center in the lands, it's little wonder that trainers can't get enough of the place. Be honest, why do you stop by the Pokemon Center 10, 20, or even 30 times a day? Is it because you actually care about training your Pokemon? Is it because you think abusing the healthcare system and dragging the economy down is funny? Or is it simply because it is such a joy getting some attention that isn't just medical attention from the finest family of identical nurses in the world? Be honest. Nurse Joy is so hot, or should I say, every Nurse Joy is so hot. But this raises 2 questions. First, how can you even tell one Nurse Joy apart from the others? And 2, if you can, then which Nurse Joy is the hottest Nurse Joy of them all? Firstly, while we can't all distinguish these identical idols from one another by the length of their eyelashes like the champ, we can figure out who is who by looking at the color of the pluses on their caps or their chest-pinned emblems, as well as some of their personality quirks. And thus, secondly, the hottest Nurse Joy of them all simply must be Nurse Joy from Akala Island. Her high outfit fabric to hotness ratio is living proof that you don't need to expose that much of the old epidermis to enchant the world, and her simple uniform, soft color palettes, and beautiful bangs only enhance her beauty. And among the Alolan Joys, Akala Island Nurse Joy brandishes that pretty little pink badge. I don't know if you knew this, but I really like pink. Furthermore, Akala Island Nurse Joy is a little bit different from the other Joys in a way that will have you seeing stars. Now, if you'll excuse me, I think my Magikarp is coming down with something, so I'd best be off to the Pokemon Center for a checkup. James. Wait a second. Wrong list. Holy Alolan Machokes, we are getting hot enough to set Asbestos on fire with this one. But what can be said about Olivia that hasn't already made you toss and turn in your sleep for the past 5 years? The energy, the kindness, the lovable clumsiness, the curve, the midriff, the short hair, the booty shorts shorter than a Flabibi's femur, the teal-colored nails, the bracelets, the Z-ring, it's all just too hot to handle. And beyond Olivia's top-tier aesthetics, she's also very affectionate to both people and Pokemon, and clumsy in the most endearing of ways. The core of Olivia's appeal is so strong, but also so obvious, that I honestly don't know what else to say about her other than that it was pretty funny how she almost got a little bit too carried away with Blue Ball's Brock, to the point where it looked like, hey, maybe our man is finally going to get some of that pudding pie. Until, as usual, fate swept in and nutted the Brock Rock harder than a freight train hitting a water balloon. The man just doesn't have any luck with the ladies. But maybe Olivia just isn't into younger guys. Good for me, probably not good for you. Well, I am burning up here. Would someone please get me a glass of water? Thank you. With that said, we have finally arrived at the number 1 pick on the top 50 Pokemon anime women ranked list. If you have just entered the fray for the top 10, then thank you very much. But afterwards, you may want to go check out part 1 and part 2 because every single woman who made it into the top 50 is as hot as Northwest Hoenn, and you wouldn't want to miss the breakdown on each of them. But alas, I will not keep you waiting any longer. Here she is, the hottest Pokemon anime woman in the history of the Pokemon anime. Could there ever be another woman in the number 1 spot? Source material character design, for source material character design alone, I would probably tip my hat to Olivia as the hottest Pokemon anime women ever created. But with Cynthia, the looks are just the tip of the iceberg. Not only is Cynthia drop dead gorgeous in the classiest of ways, but she's also the most powerful female trainer, if not the most powerful trainer of all in the history of the Pokemon anime, assuming that she did not participate in the previous World Coronation series and lose on the road to Leon. It's been well established that Cynthia's enormous popularity is largely built on her skill, how she crushes simps with the Killer 6, her legacy of success, and the aura of power and maturity that she projects. But when it comes specifically to the aesthetic standpoint, I think the reason she's resonated with fans so deeply over the years is that although her character design is very attractive, it is not particularly sexualized in the source material. And to that point, I must add, do not look at the fan art until you've finished watching this video and cross-chopped that like button for the YouTube algorithm. Then, by all means, enlighten yourself. This isn't to say that blatant, in-your-face sex appeal isn't a fantastic thing. Just ask any cheese grater abs Kukui or One Piece Wowzer Ivy stan or anyone who actually speaks truthfully, and they will tell you all about the appeal of sex appeal. But Cynthia is a little bit different in that she has that brand of deep, sophisticated hotness that only develops with maturity like a fine wine, but which also leaves aspects of that maturity to the imagination. And I do think that if she was heavily eroticized in the source material, it would actually detract from the allure of her character. In my estimation, it is exactly because her power and good looks are paired with modesty and elegance that fans' imaginations have run wild and fueled the creation of so much quality fan-made material, from fan art to fan fiction to fan pillows. So if you are going to simp for one Pokemon anime woman, they may as well be the classiest, most powerful Pokemon woman in all the lands. Not to mention one that is into mythology and may very well be single. And this is all to say that Cynthia is without a doubt in my mind the hottest Pokemon anime woman in existence. Well, there we go, an astonishingly hot top 50 Pokemon anime women ranked series spread across 3 videos is finally in the books. I wish I could say I had some kind of valuable takeaway from this, but I think I just gained a deeper appreciation of my own appreciation for the riff and the yummy mummies. Just kidding, I actually do have a few interesting takeaways here, so stick around if you are interested, and if not, then I will see you in the next video, and thank you so much for staying on board until now. But if you don't mind, why not stick around all the way to the end? Takeaway number 1, as always, it's just so refreshing to try something new and risky. And I didn't expect everyone to love this, but so many of you awesome guys and gals pledged your support for the idea that I felt the reputational risks of actually having an honest conversation in this particular space were more than worth it. I have no regrets, it was quite the time, I've had fun reading your comments, and I hope you've had fun too. Takeaway number 2, the creators of Pokemon know exactly how to get their largely teenage and adult fanbase hot and bothered, and as such, there are a ridiculously large number of attractively designed Pokemon characters out there, both male and female, and they aren't toned down in the anime as much as you would expect. Anyways, I narrowed this list down to just 50 women, but I did overlook some doozies like Klara, who I certainly would have inserted into the low 30s or high 20s, even though she only had a brief Twilight Wings appearance, because sky-high thigh-highs with gym shorts? What? So let me know if you think I missed any particularly stunning, young, or not so young women. Takeaway number 3. If I were to redo the list, I would probably bump Lana's mom up quite a bit higher in the ranking because her appeal only grew on me as I was producing the videos. I don't know why this was worth its own takeaway, but it was. Takeaway number 4. This one is important and probably a bit contentious. But after careful consideration of the arguments, I concluded that getting fussed about the imaginary ages of imaginary characters, most of whom don't even have imaginary ages in the source material, is irrational at best, and at worst, a dishonest stance taken publicly to poop on other people. You know what I'm talking about. Even so, I intentionally focused on quote-unquote mature characters to mitigate any meltdowns in the comments section, but I still knew that in spite of that, my personal interpretations of certain characters would not perfectly match with certain other people's personal interpretations of certain characters, so I felt obligated to include a silly disclaimer in every video. But at the end of the day, these are just loose abstractions of qualities we love about humanity, curated by adult minds and packaged into characters with totally lit aesthetics that bring these sets of qualities to life in a personified form and delight fans. And so, it's pretty hilarious that people actually argue over this stuff, or for that matter, think that Ketchum is 10 years old. Takeaway number 5. Last but not least, on a note somewhat related to takeaway number 4, the true beauty of the women on this list is that the essence of what they are is not confined to the source materials or any one narrow-minded interpretation of them. Rather, that essence lives in the imaginations of all the fans who have expanded on the original material, reinterpreted through their fan art, fan fiction, fan comics, fan chats, fan cosplays, fan thoughts, and more. That is to say that even when it comes to ranking the hotness of imaginary Pokemon anime women, as I pored over the source materials and all of the amazing fan work related to these characters, I could only find myself amazed as I saw how fiction can transcend fiction, to influence real-world people around the globe by inspiring them to appreciate, create, share, and yes, simp for imaginary women together with the community. Every single one of the characters on this list is worth so much more than the pen and paper used to create them, and I think we owe that to the fans even more so than the original creators. So if you loved the characters that appeared in the top 50 Pokemon anime women ranked series, then I am happy to hear that, and it is your passion that inspires me to keep making these big, stupid videos. And that said, I hope you enjoy what is to come. But how about you? Who is the hottest Pokemon anime woman in your opinion? Was there anyone missing from the list who you wanted to see? And when it comes to the hottest Pokemon anime women, why exactly do you think they are hot? I'm curious what you think. Well, let's wrap things up here for today. Thank you so much again for sticking all the way to the end. Until next time, stay hot, stay fresh, and as always, let's chat.